now it's fighting back. Betty Wynn has the latest. Hi, Betty.
And that's right, Rebecca. You know, in addition to the safety violations, SeaWorld was fined $75,000, and it was ordered never to let trainers in the water with killer whales again. This amateur video taken last February shows Don Brancho playing with Tilikum, the 6-ton killer whale who just moments later would take the SeaWorld trainer's life.
We actually have a trainer in the water with one of our whales, the whale that they're not supposed to be in the water with.
Brancho was nose to nose with Tilikum, the largest orca in captivity, when it grabbed onto Brancho's ponytail and dragged her into the water as an audience watched in horror. Ever since her death, Dawn's family has been fighting to keep photos and video of the attack, captured on an underwater camera and from a tower at the center of the park, from being made public. But on Thursday, U.S. District Court Judge Gregory Presnell disagreed, saying the legal basis for the plaintiff's request is murky, to put it mildly. None of the statutes purportedly relied upon by the plaintiffs can provide them with the relief they seek.
The family seems to have a strong moral argument that this is the death of our loved one. We don't want this to be made public. But strictly on a legal basis, the judge said there's no basis for keeping it private.
The death scene materials are in the possession of OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which investigated the attack. Last August, OSHA ruled Brancho's death could have been prevented and fined SeaWorld $75,000. SeaWorld disputes the findings and is appealing the ruling Monday morning in court, pitting the aquatic theme park giant against the U.S. government. Now, the proceedings will be overseen by an administrative law judge. They're expected to last a week. Rebecca?
Thank you. And joining us now from Anchorage, Alaska is former SeaWorld trainer Samantha Berg. Samantha, good morning. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning, Rebecca. Thanks for having me.
So you were a trainer in the 90s for SeaWorld. Did you ever feel that your safety was threatened?
You know, back then, I really didn't feel like my safety was threatened at all. But of course, I didn't know the scope of the aggressive acts that had been committed by killer whales against trainers. You know, those are all available on the internet now. You can read about them. They're public knowledge. And also, when I was at SeaWorld, there was a dangerous combination of what I would call arrogance and false confidence in the animal training department. So there was this sense of that if you did everything right, then nothing would happen to you. And in fact, and then when things did go wrong, there was this attitude of blame the trainer. So basically, you know, knowing what I know now, there's no way I would get into the water with a killer whale right now.
You wouldn't. You also knew Tilikum when he first arrived at SeaWorld. In your estimation, was he a dangerous killer whale to begin with? Would you have ever gotten in the water with him?
Well, Tilikum was a dangerous killer whale, and he has been responsible for the death of 3 people at this point. He had already killed one person, Kelty Byrne, at Sealand of the Pacific, and then he killed another person in 1999, and then he killed Don Brancho in February 2010. So I think really his record speaks for himself. That whale should not have been at SeaWorld.
SeaWorld released a statement saying that OSHA's allegations lack evidence and a, quote, fundamental lack of understanding. What's your take on this?
What's my take on this? Well, I feel like, you know, SeaWorld is, you know, it should be held responsible for their actions in this situation. You know, really, you can blame, there's 3 entities you can blame. You can say it was Tilikum's fault, you can say it was SeaWorld's fault, or you could say it was Don's fault. And what OSHA is saying by this willful violation is there was either an intentional disregard or there was plain indifference to the safety of the trainers. And when you look at what happened, SeaWorld put trainers in dangerous proximity to an animal who had already been responsible for the death of 2 people, and then a 3rd person was killed. So I really think that speaks for itself.
You've said you agree with OSHA's recommendation that trainers don't work in the water with killer whales. What else could possibly make this situation right? And not only that, make it a safer situation for people who visit SeaWorld as well as trainers at SeaWorld, in your opinion, in the future?
Well, you know, I think SeaWorld thinks that they can basically change the thing so it's safer for the trainers. They can mitigate their liability by changing their policy. And really, I don't believe that's possible with killer whales. These are wild animals. They're highly intelligent. They're very social. They're being forced to perform 5 times a day for their entire lives for dead fish. They're performing stupid tricks, and they're living basically in concrete tanks. So I don't really think there is anything that SeaWorld could do to make it safer for the trainers. Really what they should do, it's time to stop the shows. It's time to stop forcing the animals to perform in basically a circus environment. And they should release the animals that are young enough and healthy enough to be released. And the animals like Tilikum, who are old and sick and have put in 25 years in the industry, should be released to an open ocean pen so they can live out their lives and just experience the natural rhythms of the ocean. It would be such a PR coup for SeaWorld if they were willing to send Tilikum back to Iceland. What an amazing thing.
Samantha Berg, we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you. And now here's Lonnie
Thank you very
Quinn
much for
with
having me.
another check of the weather. Thanks.
All right, Rebecca, thanks very much. Well,
The bottom line is,
because it really depends on where you are today. Summer storm
what
Central
in the
Plains.
world
Autumn temperatures
are
in the
you
Northeast.
doing
And look at this. Winter flakes
in there
the
with
Now, I want to talk
a
about
1,000-pound whale?
That's still in place today.
Common
It's a little
sense
more
would
degrees,
tell
but
you,
yesterday, Fairplay, Colorado,
what are you doing?
snow. And today, the
You
Iowa
brought that on
Rockies
yourself.
and the
She
Rockies
died,
can be seen.
but
Dusting snow out
that's
there.
stupid.
International Falls,
Common
Minnesota,
sense.
The second coldest summer